to the wife or the husband who's going to be holding their spouse's hand in a hospital bed.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to her? What do you say to him as they're praying? What would you say?
Do you
That's the
remember
best
what
picture.
they threw?
Lavender.
Lavender. It's basically just crying the whole day. Aww. It was a typical Wednesday. I would have been going to work and Thomas would have been going to school. This was October of 2021. I decided to stay home from work that day because Thomas wasn't feeling well. Later into the night, he started running a fever. So we actually went to bed. I turned out the lights and everything was fine. I should have just went to sleep, but something inside me just told me to check on his temperature again. I turned on the lamp and checked his temperature. That was okay, and went to get him a wet rag for his forehead, and when I came back, he wasn't moving in our bed. I went right into work mode and called 911 because I knew something was not okay. So the 911 operator had me check his pulse, which was not present, and from there told me to start CPR. I just remember how hard my heart was pounding the whole time and trying to go through the motions, but really just thinking, this needs to happen now. He needs to be saved now, because I could tell how critical it was. So once the ambulance got there, 9 minutes later, they burst into our apartment. They defibrillated Thomas 6 times and gave him multiple shots of adrenaline to try to bring him back. After he was brought back with an unsteady pulse, was put on the stretcher and was taken out of our apartment while I stayed in the living room with the officers. As I stood in the living room with the police officers, I remember looking at our wedding pictures on the wall and just not having any words except for, Jesus, please. Then they brought us into the ER where I saw Thomas's body on an operating table. Thomas had had a cardiac arrest and gone through ventricular fibrillation. The doctors basically told us that Thomas was fighting for his life and that it was a really dire situation and we needed to call anyone that he loved.
When I woke up in the hospital, I didn't really remember a whole lot, and I just woke up. I remember feeling very, out of place. My memories were very, very foggy of the events that happened the night of and the week before, but even after I woke up, I wasn't even ready to deal with the consequences that I didn't even know were bubbling underneath the surface. I remember in the hospital, Bethany was there every single day, and she's told me after that she would wake up super early every single day and get in line because it was during COVID, and she would have to wait in this huge line to go see just her husband. Every single morning we were there. The sunrise was extra beautiful, every morning. That was the only thing I could hold on to when I was looking out the window waiting for her to come visit. Being home after 18 days in the hospital, everything felt different because I just wasn't used to it being home, and also I had a lot of physical things that I needed to rehabilitate. That was a tough time for both of us. Underneath the surface was not just the reality that I might not ever walk again or talk the same ever again, but Bethany was going through a whole load of issues that she just hadn't dealt with yet.
Flashes of trauma and memories of Thomas laying lifeless on our floor and being carted out of our apartment plagued me every night and every day. So the fear and anxiety I thought wouldn't follow because I was so strong in the hospital and I had the strength of God, but when I got home and these images wouldn't leave my head or the fear wouldn't leave my body, I didn't know what to do. I had to let myself say it was okay if one day I slept and for some reason Thomas didn't wake up. And that was a big moment where I felt healed because I felt God saying that he is still God and he would still be God. And the God of the hospital bed or my bed and anxiety or grief and loss, he's the same God. To the spouse that may be currently holding their spouse's hand in the hospital or walking through health troubles, walking through anything, or it's the when they do, I would say to them that the vows that we spoke on that day are so important, and we said them under God and we committed them to God, and I felt that in every prayer that I prayed for Thomas, is that I was his advocate and I wasn't self-conscious of that. I knew that very heavy fact that I was his advocate on this earth and that I was supposed to intercede for him in every aspect of his health. And so I would just say to not be self-conscious of that power and to feel the authority of marriage and that covenant, that you do have that authority over your spouse and over that healing.